Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and it is New Year's Eve. Tonight, we're going to discuss the all-star cast in the film New Year's Eve, starring, but not limited to, Jake T. Austin, Halle Berry, Jessica Biel, Jon Bon Jovi, Abigail Breslin, Ludacris, Robert De Niro, Josh Duhamel, Zac Efron, Katherine Heigl, Ashton Kutcher, Seth Meyers, Lea Michele, Sarah Jessica Parker, Michelle Pfeiffer, Ryan Seacrest, Hilary Swank, and Sofia Vergara. What is going on, everybody? Happy New Year's Eve. Welcome to this special edition of Renegades Reviews. A little bit later in the day, It's almost time. We're about 2 hours away from ball drop here on the East Coast, about 5 hours away from ball drop on the West Coast where I am. And before we get into the festivities on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, that'll be coming at the top of the hour, which we'll get into at the end of the episode, I wanted to bring to you my review of the film New Year's Eve. Now, our movie follows several interconnected stories of people experiencing various problems on New Year's Eve. For example, the vice president of the Times Square Alliance, Claire Morgan, is making the final arrangements for the ball drop with the help of her friend, police officer Brendan. Meanwhile, after being nearly run over by a car and denied a vacation, Ahern Records secretary Ingrid Withers quits her job and offers delivery man Paul Doyle tickets for the Ahern Records Masquerade Ball if he helps her complete her New Year's resolutions before midnight, and he accepts the challenge. Meanwhile, Paul's older sister, Kim Doyle, is having trouble with her teenage daughter, Haley, who wants to spend New Year's Eve with her friends, as well as her boyfriend, Seth Anderson, in Times Square, although Kim wants to spend New Year's Eve with her daughter after her divorce. Now, Paul's best friend, comic book illustrator Randy, hates New Year's Eve ever since his girlfriend left him on a date. Randy gets stuck in an elevator with Elise, an aspiring singer who is providing backup vocals for Daniel Jensen at his Times Square show that evening. Now, Jensen is also preparing to perform at the Ahern Records Ball, all while attempting to rekindle his relationship with his ex-fiancée, Laura. Meanwhile, at a nearby hospital, Claire's father, Stan Harris, who is in the final stages of cancer, refuses chemotherapy and wishes to see the ball drop just one last time. Stan is kept company by nurses Amy and Mindy after his doctor reveals that he will not last much longer. Meanwhile, in the same hospital, Griffin and Tess Byrne are about to have their very first child. Now, they're in competition with another couple, James and Grace Schwab, to see who will receive a bonus that is offered to the family of the first child born in the new year. Elsewhere, Sam Ahern Jr., a businessman and the son of Sam Ahern Sr. of Ahern Records, attempts to go to the Ahern Records Ball in order to deliver an important speech. After his car malfunctions in nearby Connecticut, Sam begins to wonder if he should reunite with the mysterious woman that he met and fell in love with on the previous New Year's Eve. After failing to find a mechanic or a tow truck, Sam is able to get a ride from a cheerful family in an RV. Later that evening, one of the LED panels on the Times Square ball malfunctions, jamming the ball and forcing Claire to call Kaminsky, a disgruntled electrician who the company had fired just a few weeks prior. He is able to repair the ball before midnight, and in gratitude, Claire leaves Kaminsky in charge of the operation as she rushes to see the ball drop with her father, Stan. Meanwhile, Nurse Amy has a video conference with her husband, Chino, a soldier who is deployed in Afghanistan. Stan passes away just minutes after Claire sneaks him up to the roof of the hospital in order to watch the ball drop, and a chorus of Auld Lang Syne with Claire weeping beside him, holding his hand. Paul is able to help Ingrid complete all of the items on her list, so she gives him the tickets to the Ahern Records Masquerade Ball as promised. They go to say goodbye, but Paul decides to take her to the ball as his date. Meanwhile, Randy and Elise bond in the elevator as they share their lives and their problems with each other. Just as they are about to kiss, the elevator is repaired by the building superintendent, and Elise rushes to her gig, Jensen's New Year's Eve performance. However, Randy notices that she forgot her rubber bracelet, and he rushes to give it back to her, still in his pajamas. Back in Times Square, Jensen leaves midway through his show in order to return to the Ahern Ball and apologize to Laura, who takes him back and leaves with Sam's approval. With Jensen gone, Elise replaces him and attracts the attention of the crowd. She kisses Randy, and they begin a romantic relationship. Griffin and Tess have their baby, and although it's first, they lie in order to allow James and Grace to have the $25,000 bonus after discovering that they already have two other children to provide for. Meanwhile, after being forbidden from attending the celebration, Haley runs away to Times Square, where she sees her boyfriend, Seth, being kissed by another girl, Lily, unaware that it was against his will. Heartbroken, she meets and is comforted by her mother. Kim finally realizes that she was too selfish for not allowing Haley to spend the new year with her friends. Seth finds them and apologizes, revealing that it was Lily that had stolen the kiss. Haley forgives him and kisses him back, and her mother allows her to go to an after party. Kim then rushes to a restaurant in order to reunite with Sam, who had succeeded in delivering his speech. She is revealed to be the mysterious woman whom he met 1 year prior, and they finally share their names with each other as our movie comes to its end. There's definitely a lot going on in this movie, and you definitely have to pay attention to all the intertwining stories to see how the characters connect with each other. But it's a fun romp. It's very enjoyable, and the all-star cast just makes it that much better. You know, between Robert De Niro as Stan, the man in the hospital refusing cancer treatment about to die, Hilary Swank being his daughter and the woman who's trying to get the show going in Times Square. You've got Jon Bon Jovi as Jensen, the musical performer, which, you know, let's just have Jon Bon Jovi portray a rock star. It's not very difficult for him. You've got Jake T. Austin and Abigail Breslin as Seth and Haley, respectively, the youngsters trying to get to Times Square, and Kim, Sarah Jessica Parker, just not letting Haley have any part of it. You've got Michelle Pfeiffer as Ingrid, who's trying to have this whirlwind tour, if you will, of all of her resolutions, being led by Paul, who's Zac Efron. You've even got Matthew Broderick in a cameo as Mr. Buellerton, who's in charge of Claire and the Times Square committee and everything. There's just so many factors in this movie that really make it enjoyable to me. This is either the second or the third time I've seen it, and I think I'm going to make this a yearly tradition to watch on New Year's Eve. Now, obviously, I watched it a few days prior because I had to get my notes so I could film everything, so I could edit, so it could be up on New Year's Eve. But I definitely think that this movie is good enough that it's going to become a tradition for me. What do you guys think of this all-star cast that is New Year's Eve? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. When it comes to my rating of this film, I'm going to give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. There are a couple characters in the movie that, while maybe decent role, I wouldn't go as far as to say that they're pivotal, that I could do without. You know, the character of Chino, the soldier in Afghanistan, not to take anything away from people that have to celebrate New Year's away from their loved ones like that, but I think if it had been someone we had already met in the story and not a throwaway character, it might have been a little bit more impactful. The character of Kaminsky, again, it while he's integral because he's got to fix the ball for the drop, he gets 2, maybe 3 scenes in the entire movie. Like, it's just not worth the character and everything. And likewise, Officer Brendan, which was Ludacris's character. Like, as much as I love seeing Luda on film and in these movies, his character really was a throwaway. Like, you even see him sitting there in the office and he just seems so uninspired to be there. So that's why I knock it down to 4 stars, because there's a few characters I could do without, but all the main characters I think did amazing, and the actors did great in their portrayals. Again, what do you guys think about New Year's Eve? Is 4 stars good? Is it too high, too low? Let me know if you're watching the premiere. Thoughts and comments over here. And if you're watching on demand later in the day, thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that debate, that discussion, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys tune in at the top of the hour, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, as well as on the Jeff Meacham Network and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, as we present our Coast to Coast New Year's Countdown. Jeff Meacham, the West Coast professor, will be in the host seat. Myself, Noah Foster, James Hebert will be joining him, his correspondents, if you will, on the broadcast. Never know who else is going to chime in, as we're going to open the doors tonight to anybody who wants to come in. We've going to cover the top 4 news stories from professional wrestling this year. Going to be showing highlights from open mic night. Dad's Not Always on Wrestling. All kinds of good stuff is going to be in store beginning 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, and again across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. And then tomorrow, back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, it'll be time for another edition of The War Zone, the weekly acquisition report where I, the Renegade, show you, the viewer, the latest additions to my ever-growing movie library. You don't want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on the Jeff Meacham Network, across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. Warzone, Coast to Coast New Year's Eve coverage, an entire month of musicals coming on January 2nd with our first review. So much in store in the coming weeks and the month and the coming year here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. You don't want to miss out on anything that is going to be featured, provided, and covered for you, my loyal viewers. So make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, or anytime we go live, as is the case with Open Mic Night, Statboy Sports Bar, pay-per-view PLE coverage, etc. Share this video with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of ensemble casts, fans of Jake T. Austin or Sarah Jessica Parker or Robert De Niro or Josh Duhamel or Zac Efron or Michelle Pfeiffer, anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them. It's the only way we're going to boost up my visibility in YouTube's algorithms so I can eventually get monetized and make some money on the channel here. Thank you once again to everyone who joined me and tuned in today. It means more to me than you'll ever know. Happy New Year. Be safe out there. Don't get too crazy. Don't get too drunk. Don't drink and drive. Hopefully we'll see you at the top of the hour for our Coast to Coast celebration. If not, I will see you guys next time.